Elle-C, and welcome once again to Elle's Bedtime Stories. This time we are up to bedtime story number 13. And this story is called Vacuum. It's a story written by me and my good friend Milky-chan, who did the editing, as well as some additional rewriting and extra scenarios for this particular story. So I have my bestie Alexis here with me today to read it out loud for you. So, with that said, let us begin.
The Vacuum by Elle-C is edited and rewritten by Milky-chan. There once was a small, quiet town of Cornelia, a town that lived in eternity, away from the rat race of civilization. There lived a young man named Mats. He was a scholar from the prestigious academy who possessed wisdom beyond his years, and thanks to his uncanny abilities of self-introspection and keen observation, traits that so few people possessed, as they were evidently, unlike Mats, too engrossed in worldly affairs. Mats himself believed in minimalist living and was a true believer in the idea that everyone should live in whichever way they see fit, a true ally to freedom and logical thought. If only people realized what is urgent, what needs doing. They would see that the small sacrifices, temporary pains of the here and now, are nothing compared to what is truly necessary to achieve happiness. If only they comprehended their roles in the grand scheme of the universe, Mats would often lament to himself. If only the rest of society, mired in their complacent, decadent ways, could understand that the most effective way to ensure that you are doing what is just, honorable, and righteous is to be able to see everything, even yourself, from an outside, detached perspective. Mats said as he talked to the butterfly that had landed on his hand. Today was the day. Mats was preparing to deliver and defend his latest thesis, the unified theory of moral optimizations in micro and macro human interactions, a retrospective from Plato to Peterson. A new way of thinking, as brave as it was stunning, which he had refined at the Tartalian Kingdom's main academy in the neighboring town of Nottingville. It was in truth a conglomeration of ideas, thoroughly researched from the greatest philosophers of Roman civilization and beyond, of course, that have come and gone, having contributed to man's scientific and spiritual development. Naturally, Mats himself had curated, refined, and ameliorated this old world wisdom using his own introspective analyses, perfectly and efficiently accounting for all the weaknesses of these past philosophies. This thesis contains the ideal way of living for any individual, as it covers the proper way to assess and behave in any situation in a manner that is just and yet compassionate to all. It was Mats' magnum opus, and he was indeed very happy as he sauntered lazily through the town, all in measured steps, of course. Today was the day he would enlighten his fellow man. He should be so lucky. Mats was feeling magnanimous on this day and decided that he would share the benefits of his extensive research based on the works and words of others with as many people as he could today. As he walked past the wall, he spotted an old colleague from his academy days, Jeffy, a frequent member of the academy's exclusive debate hall, known as the Echo Chamber. Jeffy was hard at work, repairing some rooftop shingles, as he had taken up the role of the town's carpenter. Mats knew right away that the poor man was in desperate need of his wisdom, and so he waved at his dear old friend. "Ah, my humble laboring friend. Allow me to intrude upon your blue-collar plight with a gem of wisdom from the upper echelons of thought. As we are both gentlemen, artists, and scholars, I do believe you are the perfect audience to share my wisdom upon. Perhaps it may even aid in your endeavor?" Jeffy, delighted to see his friend, waved down to him and responded. "Oh? By all means, friend. What insight have you to share this time?" "Thank you. Well, you see, I believe you are working too much. It would be in your best interest to remove those shingles entirely and replace them with slate roofing, as there is a significant difference of 2 to 3 decades of durable lifespan between the two materials. It would take less effort in the long run to maintain slate roofing, so it's doubly beneficial for the owner of this cottage as well. Jeffy tilted his head innocently for a moment and thought. Finally, he responded. I see, and I concur, old chap. Even though my employer simply needed a leak fixed, I am sure they will appreciate me remodeling the whole roof without their permission. Stupendous. Genius. Uncredible. This is why you live beyond the wall. Ah, I am glad that we are in agreement, my kindred spirit. I shall be off then. To spread my ideas further. Feeling quite elated at having sincerely used his superior insight to aid the carpenter, Mats went on his way. There were many thoughts swirling in his head, not the least of which was the fact that society was in a state of decay, but the research he conducted, the papers he held in his very hands, now understood, thanks to his close friend's sincere commendation, that it was the key to turning things around. So long as this wise and courageous knowledge is handled with utmost care and adhered to and proliferated by his fellow apostles of the Academy, it would surely lead to everyone in the community leading genuinely fulfilling lives. Matt stopped by the library, as he usually did. The institution most certainly performed a righteous and moral service, but today, armed with his newly created insight, Mats found the courage to challenge how this age-old institution handled its organization of its books and by extension, the proliferation of wisdom. He bravely took his challenge to none other than the guardian of this sacred place, Amy, the librarian. Normally, Mats would have shied away from debating someone who he considered a viable mating option, in no small part because Amy was easy on the eyes. She bore a physiognomy that perfectly matched the golden ratio that Mats had learned about at the Academy, and other features that promised potential for birthing equally symmetrical and aesthetically attractive offspring. Tragically though, Amy's mind was confined to surface-level thoughts, another victim of modernity and sinful nurturing. My dear lady, I have a few suggestions for you, if you don't mind. He beckoned Amy to come listen. Oh, hello Mats, how are you? Amy said nonchalantly while gritting her teeth inwardly. I am quite fine, now let us proceed to more important matters. I have noticed that this library still employs a microfilm system and you have opted for the Dewey Decimal System of classification for your books. While the DDS is indeed a safe and reliable form of classification that has been used throughout history, I must inform you that it is not necessarily the most efficient system anymore. There are far better systems you could be using. For example, the Academy uses BISAC, or Book Industry Standards and Communications. Get it? It sounds like the word basic. I see now, Amy mused. It facilitates a better browsing and user experience for everyone. On the matter of microfilms, it would be best to relegate these antiquated machines to a museum. While traditional methods should be embraced, the rarity of microfilm equipment suggests that their preservation is a much more desirable option than their continued usage so that they do not succumb to wear and tear. True, Amy answered. Most people don't understand my thinking process, which is neither a good nor bad thing, mind you, but I am so happy that you understand me, Amy. I'll be on my way then. I must proceed to deliver my research to the masses. I swear on my honor, we shall meet again. Mats bowed deeply. He would have gladly offered his help in implementing the BISAC system to Amy's library, but in truth, he feared that further illumination might overwhelm Amy's mind. Thus, even though he thoroughly enjoyed her company, Mats made the courageous decision to part ways, for now. Stay safe, Mats. Try not to trip over your own papers on the way out. Mats, ever the gentlemanly scholar, was so absorbed in his own speech that he did not notice the ever so subtle breaks in the symmetry of Amy's face, particularly in the corner of her right eye. On his way to his destination, Mats paid a visit to the office of Layla Lawful, the person charged with the town's only funeral home. In particular, Layla's job dealt with honoring the dead by preserving their bodies, allowing their loved ones to behold them last time with dignity and beauty before burial, as is the custom in Cornelia. In other words, Layla was the town's embalmer. "Ah yes, pardon the intrusion, Ms. Layla, but I feel I need to tell you something." Mats caught her attention as she was about to move into the back. "Oh hiya Mats. What's eating ya?" Layla asked him from behind the desk. "I simply wanted to enlighten you on something related to your profession." Mats interrupted her bluntly. "Oh? You aren't going to profess your undying love for me?" Layla said with a wink and a smile. To Mats, Layla was even easier on the eyes than the librarian. Her youthful features and coquettish body language made her an ideal mating option as far as physical attraction goes. Unfortunately, for Layla that is, while Mats found her very pleasant to talk to, the nature of her profession, her being always surrounded by death secretly made him very uncomfortable. In particular her morbid sense of humor. "Not quite. Can I be honest, Ms. Layla? I think embalming is a waste of resources." "Ah, are you insulting my profession, Mats?" "I'm not really in the mood for that kind of teasing today," Layla pouted. For just a moment, Layla's normally gleeful personality seemed to fade. "No, not at all. I mean no disrespect. I meant to say that embalming itself is impractical and that you should convert your facility into a crematorium. As you know, Cornelia is not exactly a town with a vast land area, and full-sized coffins take up a lot more space in the graveyard than an urn. As for the aesthetics, I believe that if the family so wished, an artistic rendering would actually be more profound and hold deeper meaning for the loved ones of the deceased." I see. Layla scratched her chin. "Yup. That makes perfect sense, Mats. Very enlightening. I guess I'll file the necessary paperwork to get this place converted. I'm sure the mayor, the priest, and the old folks are just dying to hear what we have in store for them, eh? Now then." Layla pushed him out of her office and gave him a pat on the back. "Go and inspire someone else to change careers, Lady Killer." Shortly after Layla purged Mats from her funeral parlor, she entered the back rooms to continue the operation. Her plastic smile vanished at once as she crossed the threshold of the doorway. She walked solemnly toward the prep table bearing a small body covered in a white sheet, and she thought to herself, "A painting? That's sweet, Mats, but even I'm not morbid enough to want to paint the things I see." Over at Layla's funeral parlor, just a little bit of time after Mats had left, Layla's plastic smile vanished. She looked over at the prep table where a child's small body lay covered in a white sheet. "Yeah, real profound, Mats. I'll be sure to ask her mom if she prefers a painting." Finally, Mats arrived at his destination. It was a small schoolhouse at the center of town with only a single teacher, who managed 2 sections of 40 students per section. Classes had just finished for the day, so Mats knocked twice on the already open door of the headmaster's office and let himself inside. "Hello, Mr. Mats. How may I help you?" the kindly Mr. Eduardo Santamaria asked. No, my good sir. Ask not what you can do for me but what I can do for you, homie," Mats replied casually while placing his properly organized papers on the teacher's desk. "Oh?" Mr. Eduardo said as he adjusted his spectacles. "Yes, may I examine your current syllabus?" Mr. Eduardo reluctantly handed over a copy of the school's syllabus to Mats. TSK, this is rather disappointing, my good sir. I see essential subjects such as science and maths, but there's neither ethics, nor religion, and most importantly, philosophy. If you will permit me to say so, as I am obviously better qualified than you at these things." "What was your major again, sir?" Eduardo stared at Mats for a moment, unamused. "It's general education, young man. In case you forgot, I was your teacher not so long ago." "I see. I'm a major in philosophy and the arts at the academy, postgraduate, of course. You have a degree then? In education theory and practice? Why, I may not have that in particular, but I assure you that I do possess a theoretical degree in enlightening my fellow man, Matt stated proudly. He had to stifle a chuckle at Mr. Eduardo's reluctance. He thought it amusing how defensive the older man had become after being called out about his lesser educational attainment. After all, Matt's was simply stating an obvious fact. It wasn't something that an ill-educated man, especially one not from the academy, had any reason to feel insecure about. Young man, you are saying I should add philosophy and teach it to these kids? Mr. Eduardo asked grumpily. Are you aware most of them are barely grade school aged? Yes, that would be ideal if you were qualified, of course. Naturally, if you need help, I would be ever so happy to lend a hand in guiding the next generation to the higher planes of thought. I'm in search of employment, you see. Yeah, I'm no fraud, homie. I know plenty about philosophy, whether it's stoicism, solipsism, or any type of ism. Including one I'm sure you are personally familiar with. Oh, I'll teach the 6-year-olds the ship of Theseus debate, Maths. Right after nap time. Evidently provoked, Eduardo slapped Matt's research back at him, landing neatly in front of him. I don't like your tone, Mr. Eduardo. Homie, Matt said meekly as he saw Mr. Eduardo rise from his charge and start walking towards him, clearly in bad faith. Unsure how to respond, Matt picked up his papers and briskly strode out of Eduardo's office and away from the schoolhouse, effortlessly outpacing the aged instructor. I've been teaching and raising children since well before you were born. And I'll still be teaching for years after you're gone too. Matt, having wisely evaded the old tyrant's wrath, spoke to himself. How terrible. To think that old Mr. Eduardo is so emotionally unstable, and these poor, ignorant townsfolk entrust the minds of their youth to such a potentially dangerous person. Is it perhaps too late? Could the whole community have already been turned against me? Sullen, Matt made his way to the gate of Cornelia where had entered earlier that morning. He had tried to speak with the various townsfolk he had met that day, but found that none of them were available. As a last-ditch effort, he even attempted to lecture a group of children at the park about the morals and virtues of old-world societies, and epic tales of heroes long gone. His heart sank when he noticed one of the youngsters making a drawing in the sand, a drawing of himself, rather crudely, being attacked by lions in the Colosseum. At least, Matt realized that he had spread enough of his wisdom around the town for the day. As he passed the gates of Cornelia, a guard leaning against a wall called out from behind him. It was Arthur, a hardened and venerable ex-soldier who had protected the town for decades. Rumor has it that he was a war hero and once a member of the elite Platinum Knights of Tardalia, but his career ended when he took an arrow to the knee. Now he served out his remaining days as a humble, low-ranking guard in his hometown of Cornelia. While his age and injuries stymied his abilities, his mediocre, albeit consistent performance earned him the respect and admiration of the townspeople. Halt! Arthur declared with a clear, sharp voice. Young man, I'm glad I met you before you left town. Yes, of course, my good man. I am simply on my way home. I live a simple life near the lake outside of town. Do you need to see my identification? Oh, not at all. We haven't spoken much, but I know you well enough, I think. You know me as well, yes? Matt was both relieved and invigorated with a sense of hope. Perhaps Cornelia wasn't doomed to be another failed civilization. There was only one way to confirm his hypothesis. By the way, if you would permit me to say so, I believe that the spear you are using is hardly optimal for your build, Sir Arthur. Ah, is that so? I should think I have enough dexterity. This is the very same spear that saw me through many campaigns during the war. What would you suggest? Yes, for someone of your particular stature and body type, a mace or even a short sword would probably be more ideal as it allows you to maneuver quickly and your heavy armor renders range in melee combat ineffective anyway. Is that so? I happen to have a spare arming sword right here. Oh. How fortunate, perhaps you had already considered my advice even without my saying so. You could say that, since I don't need my spear at the moment, here. All of a sudden, and in a single, efficient movement, Sir Arthur turned his trusty spear and launched it. It landed just centimeters away from Matt's right foot. What are you doing? That's live steel. Matt exclaimed in astonishment. In that moment, fear prevented him from turning and running in that. Mats, you cretin. Jeffy tells me you were the one who convinced him into de-shingling my house. He tore half the roof off before I got there. Don't you know what season we're in? What am I going to do about the rain? The rain? Oh, the rain. Ahaha. I know you artistic types can't earn squat wasting your time at that bogus academy. So I demand payment in the one thing you do have. En garde. Upon hearing these words, Matt's blood ran cold. Cornered, like a rat, Mats tried in vain to pull the spear out from the dirt, but it was much too heavy for an intellectual such as himself to move even a centimeter. In a single bound, the old hero closed the distance. Mats, his few precious memories flashing before his eyes, squealed like a mouse as he raised his research papers in front of himself as a desperate attempt to block Arthur's attack. In an instant, Arthur's sword sliced the documents into dozens of pieces, the numerous ribbons of paper floating helplessly to the earth. He could have easily caught Mats as he ran away down the road, but Arthur took satisfaction in simply scaring him straight. Even if it was merely a Pyrrhic victory. Humph. One thing is certain about those academy types. They're certainly experts at making quick escapes. Matt stopped running shortly after. He turned around to see Sir Arthur sheath his sword, pull out his spear and, stunningly, wave at him with a friendly smile before walking back into town. What a boorish and violent man. He's a disgrace to the Knights of Tardalia. And, if anything, he should have given me the sword, but then the spear. Matt stopped his own introspection, as he realized that whichever weapon Arthur would have handed him would not have mattered. This so-called Sir Arthur had in fact lost the moment he threw the spear. Only the unenlightened would respond with violence. Yes. And if the people of Cornelia would trust such a man to protect them, perhaps Mats was better off staying in the echo chamber back at the academy. And so, Mats returned to his humble cottage by the lake. Although he often wondered about the state of Cornelia and even how Amy planned to implement the bisect principle at all, without having read his notes, he never set foot in that town again. Merely stalking it from afar, until one day he returned to the academy, the echo chamber that brought him so much comfort. And on that day, on that very night, the moon rose over that small quiet town that lived in eternity. To most people living in that town, it was a heaven where they lived peacefully. But to others, it was merely a vacuum, where logical thought died. The end.
Thank you so much for reading that for me, Bessie. Alright, so with that said, that is the end of Elle-C Bedtime Stories number 13, Vacuum. Anyways, so if you guys have any thoughts on this particular story, please feel free to leave them in the comments. With that, I bid you good night, good morning, whatever time it may be. And I hope this story has given you some inspiration to start or end your day right. So, I'll see you next time. This is Elle-C with my bestie Alexis, and we are out. Bye-bye! Bye-bye! And a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3. Click like and subscribe and click bell